squashed together. £7. 7 o'clock. So I think we might get started. Statement of acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge the land that we meet on today is the traditional lands for the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. So, are we live streaming? Yeah. We're live streaming, so welcome to the people who are watching online. Roll call, everybody's here. There's no apologies. Motions to grant leave of absence. What?
Councillor Ethan, yes, apology for tonight.
Yeah. I'm not up to that bit there. Not up to that bit. Motions to grant leave of absence. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Karen. Yes, I would like leave of absence from the 16th of December until the 5th of January.
Oh, fantastic. Nice.
Oh, that's good.
Awesome.
I was thinking somebody would want me to get away.
So are you seconding that, Councillor Hennessy? Councillor Hennessy has seconded it. From 16th of December to 5th of January inclusive. Thank you. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Leave of absence, Councillor Ethan White, 20th of October 2024 to 13th of December 2024. There's no non-attendance. Public open forum. There's no public open forum here. Deputations nil. Declarations of interest. Has anybody got a declaration of interest? No. Adjourned items nil. Petitions nil. Confirmation of minutes. Now, Nathan, you wanted to say something.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just picked up a slight typo that we got sent through today. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it. It's just in regards to the financial... Is it the... Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, there we are. It's already on the screen.
It's already there on the screen.
Yeah, it's perfect. That pre-work worked well.
Delete unfavourable and replace with favourable.
Yes, as the math points out, but
yes.
obvious typo.
Okay.
And it's 77 grand.
So I need a mover and a seconder. So are you happy to move that way, Nathan? Yeah. Are you happy to move? Oh, I saw you. I saw you first, Cody Davies. So seconded by Cody Davies. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Business arising for minutes. Decision reports. Okay, so now we get to the decision reports. Asset management plans. Officer's recommendation that council, can you read that out? Can you read that out?
Through Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
I'm happy to read it out, but
Yeah.
is the council happy to take it as read?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, you're going to move forward? Okay. Are you going to move? You're going to move it?
If we can move the business development group matter forward to...
Oh, yes. Thank you. Business Scholar quarterly report. Yes. You are moving it, and you are seconding it. Okay, Nathan Shanks seconding it. All those in favour? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Yes.
Mayor, just declaring a general conflict of interest, being the rep on that committee. I thought because it was after the new appointments I wouldn't have to do it, but because it's been moved forward, I'm just going to declare a general conflict, and I'm going to remain in the chamber and contribute to discussion, and I believe that that is beneficial to the chamber because I'm the representative on that committee.
Thank you.
I think I've covered everything.
Thank you. Kevin, would you like to come up and present your report?
Okay, all good. Yes, thank you to the elected members. You've all obviously received the quarterly report from the Business Scholar. If I could speak to a couple of events that probably occurred during this just more recently, we've had our Business Scholar Awards, which were held the other night, and thank you to the Mayor and CEO for attending. And I think it was a good night held by all. It was good to see some award winners in there that hadn't perhaps featured previously, so that was really exciting. We also have held our AGM, and I'm pleased to say that we've had 6 additional members, which has certainly placated my concerns that I had about the governance of the board with such a small number that we had listed previously. And 2 of those are Main Street business owners, which is also another area that I felt we were a little bit deficit in. So I think that is probably the 2 highlights. Probably one other concern that I too also have had is probably with expenditure, and I know even talking with some council staff and the Mayor about that is, you know, the funds that we're currently holding. Now, we know that a large proportion of that is from a historical event that occurred, and then COVID came along. We all had plans to spend it. And look, I'm hoping with the new board, and I'm not speaking out of turn because they're my thoughts, that with the new board that we can look at perhaps a different direction, and this will coincide with the upcoming agreement, which will be discussed over the next 6 months with the council staff and with representatives, the Mayor and the CEO. I'm hopeful that we can look at what I refer to it as blue sky thinking, where let's just have a look and see what we can do in this space to try and make sure that the business community and the town of Gawler all benefit from this. I think it's a marvellous. This separate rate was very, the way it was put back in the day and the way it was put forward and the way it's been used over the years has been generally good for the town, and I think it's something that we wouldn't probably give up overnight. Other than that, if anyone has any questions in reference to the report or anything they'd like to ask me, feel free to.
Any questions? Any questions? Councillor Shanks?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Kevin, is there any appetite on changing the time of when you guys meet by any chance?
That was actually raised last year in January, and it was suggested at that time that we could look at an alternate arrangement so that we, capture the early morning business before the business owners start their work, which is the intention of the 7:30 to 9 o'clock meeting, and maybe we can alternate it to an evening. The board at that time saw fit that not to change it. I was open to the suggestion, and I think there probably wasn't enough impetus at that time. We'll continue to try and look at that. Now we've got a board on, you know, if you like, what I consider a more fulfilled board. Well, hopefully we'll be able to look at things like that. Do you think, just Councillor Shanks, do you think that might have been an impediment to people nominating or coming onto the board?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can only speak from personal experience. The time of meeting that you guys currently have has been an impediment for me to put my hand up. That's when we start work, and 9 o'clock, you know, 2 or 3 hours of business is already done in my line of work. It's not to say it's right or wrong, it just has meant I haven't been able to contribute to the board personally.
I see the attraction to it. But
Thank you.
yes, I understand completely. I'm in the same line of work, but I don't have to answer to anyone but myself. So, and I don't do a very good job of that. So.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions? No. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin, Chair of the Business Scholar.
Yes, thank you. And I'll just make one other comment. We hope that the business logo will soon be produced, so we can have a bit more of an official naming and promotion campaign around the change of name, and it may well coincide with some other things.
Thank you.
And I'm open door policy, so if any councillors or elected members would like to contact me and have ideas of their own, please feel free to contact me. I'm always on for a chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin Fisher. So now we move to decision reports, asset management plans, 10.1. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So we need a mover and a seconder. Jim Vallelonga, Councillor Vallelonga, and Deputy Mayor Davies. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so decision reports, asset management plans. Are you happy to move that way? You've got a suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might start off as a question, probably, but my idea would be, because the new CEO's been in the job for 1 week, that we actually look at holding a workshop on our asset management plans and the long-term management plan, and defer these couple of items until we've actually had the input from the CEO, our CEO. It's not detracting anything from the hard work the staff have put in. I do have a concern that I'm probably speaking on the motion to defer, but I do think, Joe, with the SACOS and other reports that we have, Joe, really allocated a lot of funds towards our plans, which we should do, but it's the income side of things where we're looking at the 3.5% savings and looking for plans for projects and programs that we're going to have to adjust, because our rates are already very high, and looking at really large rate increases to afford our assets, which we have to do.
What's your suggestion?
My suggestion is that we defer this item.
Oh, right. So
to a workshop and then a future council
So
meeting.
you want to speak? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. I absolutely appreciate the sentiment, and you're right, I've been here 5 minutes. Just a couple of thoughts on that, particularly with the draft long-term financial plan. The challenge we've got with deferring it is that under the Act, we have to actually adopt it by the end of this month, 30th of November, because we've got a requirement to review it within 2 years from the election. So we're up against it time-wise. If I can just share a couple of thoughts about how the team have kept me in the loop while they've been developing these plans. So I just want to thank Sharon particularly, who took the time, had numerous phone calls with Sharon over the development of these. Now, they've gone through your audit committees. Your audit committee have said they're happy with it. I've had a look at all the documents in question, and broadly I'm quite comfortable with what's before you. I do share your thoughts that the 3.5% savings, it's going to be a challenge for us, but I think it's a sound way forward. Yeah. With the asset management plans, I do have a high level of comfort with how Ms Young's approached those and how she's presented those to councils, talking about the level of comfort we have with the data that we've got. I think they're both sound-based documents that, of course, as we progress year on year, they will be tweaked and adjusted as we get new data, develop new approaches. So I thank you for your sentiment, but I guess my encouragement would be for council to actually consider them this evening, if for no other reason that we are up against the statutory deadline. That's my concern.
I'm
Thank
going
you,
to call for
Madam
a
Mayor.
seconder. I'm going to call for a seconder. Anybody want to second you? Do you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, I've read those plans a number of times, and basically I'm quite boggled by it. You know, when I look at the Transport Management Plan, only 5.75% are in poor or very poor condition, and 94% are in very good and fair. So to me, it sounds like, in some respects, we're actually doing all right. We're actually, you know, if you can get to 94% of your assets in that category doing all right, I think that's okay. Open space, unfortunately, 33% is sort of a bit poor. But the stormwater, only 7.63% are poor or very poor. They're quite small numbers. That's my opinion. So obviously, I think we're doing okay. And I'm just a bit concerned about the rush to adopt these and the financial implications, because we're talking like extra millions of dollars a year, pushing up our debt up to $37 million. And I know that over time, the debt comes down. But for example, in the 9th year, when we look at this, in the 9th year, we're saying we're going to actually pay $13 million. Now that really isn't realistic. So I'm really concerned that yes, we need to do this and put money into those assets. But in my opinion, we're probably doing okay, and I think we need to spend more time to actually come to grips with the state of our infrastructure. Because once we adopt this, it bakes in a lot of debt, and I'm concerned that that's almost generational debt. Because we also want to do things, and for example, we've got all these things we'd like to do, and they're millions of dollars. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, in the 10th year, we decide that we have to then borrow $50 million over here to build a sports centre. I mean, I'm very concerned about how realistic all of that is, and I'm really concerned about baking in debt, which I think might be generational. So I'm quite happy to support this, and I think we should spend more time on actually I know we have to spend money on it, but I'm just really, really concerned about the debt and what we'll actually be spending our money on. Okay. When I consider that those percentages are quite low, you know, the ones that are poor and very poor. So
thank you for those words.
Happy to support this. Thank you.
Okay. So we've got a mover and a seconder. Any discussion?
Thank you, Mayor. I too had some concerns about the timing of this, but after some discussion, I'm comfortable. The CEO is going to have a KPI set against him for long-term financial plan and the budget. If he's comfortable with it, I think we have worked through numerous workshops. We've gone out for consultation and we've had that. So even though I think we could probably seek some leeway, given that we have got a new CEO, against that legislative requirement, I'm happy to support this on the basis that the CEO has suggested that he is comfortable with it. So, yeah, thank you. I'll vote against.
Thank you. Councillor Shanks.
Mayor, am I able to ask a question through you, a bit of a high-level one? I think we benefited really well in the audit and risk by Wendy giving a little bit of a broad overview on the asset management plan. And I know it's in the report, but it was really beneficial. Yeah. Is it possible to ask through you, I guess, our executive manager of infrastructure, the opinion and the methodology behind? Okay,
thank you.
Is that right?
CEO?
Yes, certainly, Madam Mayor. Happy to refer that to Michelle.
All right, thank you. Through you, Chair. Oh. Are you happy for me to go?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to try and remember exactly what I said at Audit Committee. Look, I think the first point I want to make right now is that not only is the legislative timeframe for the endorsement of the long-term financial plan the end of this month, it is also for the asset management plans as well. That's part of our legislative responsibility.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so that is an important point to note. So I think the second point is that, as we've acknowledged in multiple forums, that asset management is still a journey and an evolving journey for this council. I think the Transport Asset Management Plan is probably one of the best plans we've got because we actually have got the accurate condition data that's driving what we have put in there. Yes, there is still a lot of money going into renewal, and the thing that's going on behind the scenes right now is the scenario planning of how you invest to, I guess, optimise renewals so that your condition over the next 4 years and then the next 20 years and the next 50 years is also optimised as well. Yeah. On that, while the asset management plan presents a point in time perspective of investment to try and meet particular condition ratings, and again, the ambition with trying to keep things in condition 3 or below is that once we start hitting 4 or 5, we go into this scenario where we're not renewing anymore, we're actually going into reconstruction and costs are doubling, tripling, quadrupling in terms of what the investment's required. But when the annual budget process goes through, that will actually set out the specific streets, the rationale for why we're choosing them, what's renewal, what's curbs, what's the associated footpath and all the rest of it. And that's actually the time that we make the actual budget decision. These are guiding documents. These present a whole of asset class perspective. And I know I'm something a bit different to what I did at Audit and Risk, but I guess I'm just trying to provide a level of comfort for the people in the room right now that by endorsing these plans, you're not endorsing a specific budget for the next 10 years. You're endorsing what a plan might look like that would create what we view at the moment, based on the data we've got, is the optimum way forward. But at annual budget cycle, you actually make a decision in regards to how you're going to split the kitty of what you have got for all of this renewal, and indeed what you might say, well, we're going to definitely hold off from strategic to boost the renewal or just not to spend it all. Stormwater assets, the condition of them, I mean, that is very clear in the report. It is based on a set of assumptions based on asset life, not actual condition data. In that space, what we don't know is what we don't know, and it's actually a space that we need to improve on. The open space assets, they have got a much higher percentage of assets in a poor and very poor condition than we would like to have. And I've been open about this for months now, that I expect once we get the data back from the condition audit that's happening right now, that we can expect that there may be further bad news in that space. And I think the spend in open space that's included in those asset management plans is being driven by some of the strategic planning we've been doing in terms of play spaces anyway. And then it's capturing, the assets that we know are in the poorer condition, which is typically our irrigation and fencing. The building asset management plan has got the highest level of confidence we've ever had. I still think, again, it's an evolving plan, and as we explore more, we'll come up with more definitive programs of work that will go into the annual budget plan. I think without waffling on, I might stop it there, unless, Nathan, is there anything else that I captured well at Audit and Risk that you specifically want me to say? I just, again, would just encourage you to recognise that we're at the best point we've ever been at. It's not the best point we can be at, and that's the journey we've got to continue on. And scenario planning between asset classes is something that we're going to get our teeth into. But again, the plans provide a strategy and the understanding of the strategy. They don't lock you in to an annual spend at this point in time.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Wendy.
I guess the point I was trying to touch on there is exactly what Wendy was able to articulate, and that is the ability to be able to use our budget process, as we've done year after year after year after year, to scrutinise on the category spending and where we're spending it. I understand Councillor Koch's concern about spending, and I concur at a higher level. But what I have noticed in the past is in lack of a better term, bury our head in the sand a little bit and not look at the holistic preventative maintenance and proactive spending, which then results in the reactive spending we keep on seeing roll through. Right now we're looking at a project that will come up to 2 years before we can deliver it in the main street of our town that has construction fencing around it, because some preventative maintenance wasn't in any asset management plan and strategy in auditing and trying to look at these things prior to the failure. Absolutely acknowledge that some of the fair to poor ratings might seem low, but the spending is also about covering the future spending in the long-term financial plan to make sure that you keep them that low, if not improve on it, because this money isn't about fixing what is poor already. It's also about avoiding, ensuring and making sure that nothing else becomes to that level. What I liked about the audit and risk, which again Wendy touched on, was I guess the admission of the fluid nature of these documents and the acknowledgement that this wasn't just a box tick exercise, which the chair, our independent chair, actually picked up in the reading of the report,
right.
which was fantastic to see, because it was a sentiment I was wondering if I would pick up on because I'm close to it, and our independent member picked up on it as well. And it was a clear sentiment that these plans, I care so much about these plans. I'm paraphrasing for Wendy here, but I care so much about these plans because if I get these right, I'm going to be able to produce those proactive budget bids. I'm going to be able to show how this one ties into one financial year to the next financial year to the next 5 to the next 10. Without these documents being accurate, I'm running around like a headless chook. So I'm comfortable with supporting this as your audit and risk member, as the independent members are. But the motion we have on the board here is about deferring to allow our new employee to catch back up. The comfort level of our new employee, Chris, welcome to the meeting, Chris, by the way, is there. I don't think we're going to get any more value out of an information briefing, albeit I get the sentiment and I don't necessarily disagree, but listening to our professionals in the room here, I'm going to speak against the deferral, but I would understand why Councillor Koch might speak against the asset management report, because there is a position he clearly has, and deferring it I don't think is going to provide that comfort.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Do you want to wrap up the debate, David? Yep.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification about the timelines. It's probably more the fact that there have been some increases in costs, which is, I suppose, understandable. But my concern is, as a council, how we're actually going to be able to pay for this work. And I think that's probably other people's concern as well. And that, to me, looks like we're going to have to ramp up our income or look at ways of changing programs or projects and things like that. And yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't give me the comfort that there are going to be other failures. We've got a swimming pool that's over 60 years or something. Yeah, we've got other things that we've been propping up for a long time. And they're quite humongous investments required. But yeah, and I agree our asset management plans in the past haven't been as good as they could be, and they're an evolving process, which is great to see. So yeah, I'm happy with the work that's being done, which is great. But it's that holistic picture of our community. And Joe, even the other day I had someone feeding back to me that maybe we don't need a playground every 500 metres and things like that. That as a community, we can't afford brand new playgrounds everywhere. We can't afford toilets at every playground. I had someone actually say that to me as well today. I do get a lot of feedback when I get out and about. It's those sorts of things that, Joe, that bigger picture, that as a community, and I did get from someone else about our service levels. Our community does expect a lot from us, which means our rates are really high. Because we are doing a lot and the staff are doing a lot of good things for our community, but it costs money. So, yeah, we've heard from the CEO that he hasn't, we haven't really got the time, but I just think that's probably also could be put down to bad planning as well. So, yeah, I would like the opportunity to actually go through this. I don't feel as though we've had some workshops on the bigger picture and setting some of the longer term planning stuff, but we didn't really get into the nitty gritty. So that's why I've asked for the deferral.
Put that motion. All those in favour of the motion, all those against, it is lost. You've called a division. All those in favour, please stand. Okay, so all those in favour, Councillor Paul Kosh, Councillor David Hughes, all those Mick Lorna, Cody Davies, Jim Vallelonga, Nathan Shanks, Isaac Solomon, Helen Hennessy and Brian Sample. The motion is lost. Thank you. So we go back to the original officer's recommendation. Do you want to move that way?
Yeah, I won't speak too long, members.
You want to second it, Jim? Oh. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, just quickly, I don't disagree with the sentiment of my colleague in relation to understanding the expectations of the community. I receive similar sort of feedback. The closest one I can give an example of is my wife actually turning around and saying, why isn't there a toilet at the Redbanks Road playground and any other playground she goes to? Because it is hard with young kids and the like. I get it. But when I explained to her that you want a toilet in every single playground, let's double our rates and let's pay for it.
Can we move that up?
And then I started explaining the playground strategy in relation to what we're talking about in categorising our play spaces, being that premium, that local and the like. And I think we are having the right discussions in those strategies, having our main street close to our premium being the Apex Park, along with wet areas that are well within walking distance, actually two now. So I think we are having those conversations, and the onus is going to be on us to ensure that we are the voice talking to the community in relation to the reasons why things happen. In the past, some of my colleagues would have heard me speak against particular budgets and talking about we're not funding fundamental services, we're not being clear on what that money is going to. I'm not happy necessarily taking money out of fellow ratepayers' pockets, but I'm less happy about doing it if we can't clearly identify what we're going to give them back in return. These strategies, the current thinking of our long-term financial plan and the way we are now talking, in its infancy, mind you, but the way we are talking is about these strategies and these documents and this understanding that will arm us in explaining to our ratepayers why their rates are where they sit. So, albeit I don't like taking money out of ratepayers' pockets, being a ratepayer myself, I do understand the whys, and I am getting more and more confident in being able to portray that message throughout our community.
Do you wish to speak again, Helen? You spoke previously. Yeah, previous motion. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Which is a great segue. Thank you, Councillor Shanks. One of the best parts of this report, I think, is when it goes and talks about the Strategic Asset Management Plan. And there's actually a sentence in here that says future versions of this SMAC will continue to improve the content and be presented for community engagement, which is part of an overall plan for achieving more community interest in asset management. I think that is the crux of this. We haven't, perhaps as a council in years past, really explained what we're trying to do with our assets and the state of them and what our plans for them. So I think what we have in these plans now is a very good indication of that. Yes, I totally agree. Some of the figures are totally scary. But it's part of an education process that we're all, both staff and elected members, need to really focus on. And I guess my question, perhaps through you, Mayor, is when would it be envisaged that the Strategic Management Asset Plan actually does go out for community engagement? Do we have some type of timeline on that?
CEO?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I might just get Ms Young to answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. So we need to update, but I guess the overall figures in all of this will be updated once we get the next round of condition data, which is with the open space assets. I think probably trying to align it into a budget cycle is going to be the best bet. But whether it is this budget cycle, which is going to be upon us in the blink of an eye, which is the reality, versus doing it towards the end of next calendar year and in line with the 20, it was a bit scary, isn't it, the 25-26 budget planning, is probably going to be more appropriate, because I think for me, the focus I need to have and my team needs to have in this space is actually creating the right budget bid so that we get it right for the 25-26 budget cycle and that we can underpin what we present thoroughly, rather than me putting my attention into another document or an update of the document. And I know for those of you, so Mayor Redman and Councillor Shanks, who are at Audit Committee, the Strategic Asset Management Plan is a starting point. It's not everything I dreamt it was going to be, and I actually had a whole heap of disappointments in what it was, but it's, as the Risks Committee said, it's a really good start. So I want it to be my starting point. So I think, and I'm talking and thinking at the same time, I think I would probably prefer to do it around this time, or, sort of October 2025, to feed into that 26, 27 budget planning.
Thank you for that update. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Right. So we've got a mover and we've got a seconder. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? I'm going to put that motion. You want to wrap up the debate?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just quickly, one thing we didn't touch on for the rest of the community is in this report it clearly identifies $561 million worth of asset that this council is responsible for, and we're actually forecasting to reach $600 million very, very soon. So if we look at that as a percentage of what we're investing in making sure our assets are safe, let's call it, each year as a percentage against that 600 million, 561 currently, I think that is a good ratio to look at as well. Just throwing that out there, because I think sometimes it can be lost on how much of an asset-rich council we are, but somewhat cash poor to a degree.
I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour of the motion, all those against, it is carried. Thank you. 10.2, I'm on page 14 of 103, draft long-term financial plan. Who would like to move this motion? Thank you, Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Mayor Redman. I'm happy to move this motion. Look, I'll start by saying that I hear some of the concerns with both the asset management plans and the long-term financial plan from my colleagues, but, you know, and yes, I'm not comfortable with the position that our budget's in. I don't think any of us really are, but I am comfortable with this plan, and I am comfortable with some of the strategies which we'd have identified to be able to get out of the situation that we find ourselves in, but also to focus on how we achieve the things that we want to achieve. I was lucky I attended on the 20th of September, which seems like forever ago now, the drop-in session which we had about the long-term financial plan. We had one person come in, and I think I'll call it grilled Sharon for just over an hour, and I felt that my understanding of the plan was enhanced by that. We talked about everything from cash flow through to the long-term strategic goals and how we achieve them, and so you know, I got some benefit from that, and I think I got a level of comfort from that experience as well. And Sharon did an exceptional job, and also we did. It's a dry subject. It's a challenge on how we consult with our community about this. There's no doubt. Yeah, and though I would point out that at the actual drop-in, some of the materials which were designed were done in a very simple and I think very effective way, and it's unfortunate we didn't get to test those, and perhaps, you know, I mean, there's always work to be done on reflecting how we can get more people to engage, but I think some of those materials were a good starting point, and they were a lot more simple and a lot easier to engage with than some documents have been in the past. So I'm personally comfortable with this plan, and I'm happy to move forward with it.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, Deputy Mayor? Do you want to speak?
Yeah, I guess just to say that, look, the long-term financial plan, I think, yes, in general, it is something that the community is very interested in, but in specific, looking at accounting documents and stuff is not what the average person wants to do with their day. And so it is difficult to, to get this adopted by the community, but I think it is, I think we've been doing some great work in this field. And just noting again that, like the previous item, this is legislatively, we need it in by the 30th of November.
Thank you. So we've got a mover and a seconder. Any other discussion? Councillor Shanks.
Thank you, Mayor. What I guess, and as I've talked about in the past, and it has been quite good, the information briefings and discussions we've had on this particular item, regardless of where we might sit on particular spendings and the like, I think the line of communication has been opened up to a level that maybe it hasn't prior. What I'm also liking in regards to the long-term financial plan is the key project identification as well throughout on what it could look like. The acknowledgement being this 10-year forecast, this 10-year plan, this 10-year strategy is based on the information we have right now, and it needs to be reviewed, updated, and I think the onus is going to fall into us as elected members and the administration as well to make sure that we are identifying those key measurables, those key milestones, to show the successes that we are able to achieve year by year, to be able to get that community trust, in my opinion, back to a degree. So I'm happy to support the long-term financial plan with the acknowledgement that has been given multiple times before, that the tail end of the long-term financial plan starts getting a little bit guessworky, because how can you predict down to the dollar realistically? And to be honest, that was acknowledged at the Audit and Risk and has been multiple times before by our executive manager that does find spreadsheets fun to look at, mind you. So I guess that acknowledgement of understanding what this plan is and what we're committing to is the idea of what this business and council potentially could deliver on. But the onus is going to be on us to make sure that we are meeting those key milestones if this is what we want to deliver in the business of council.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, in all conscience, I can't support this motion. This is going to take our council up to $37 million in debt for a number of years. It's basically baking in debt, almost generational debt. As I said before, we've got all these initiatives we want to achieve over that 10 years as well, so I don't really know how we're going to be paying down debt while also trying to achieve all those things there. And then when we get to year 9 of this plan, we need to find $5 million to relocate the BMX track. Year 10, we need to find $50 million to build the Southern Sports Precinct. Year 12, we need to find another $2.5 million. Year 13, we need to find more money. It just goes on and on. So it's just, I just can't, in all consciousness, actually accept it. And as I said before, in the 9th year, we're going to pay back $12 million. That's what this graph says. I don't think it's realistic. I cannot see how we're going to pay back all that money, $12 million in 1 year. I just can't see it. While still trying to do this, providing services and activities for our community, and while still promising all these things for the sporting clubs. I just can't see it. I'm a bit concerned about the rate increase. I think we'll actually have to look at, I reckon, the upper limit on those rates, 6%, and then I question whether we're going to get the 3.5% savings over the first 4 years. I haven't seen anything yet. Therefore, we just add another 3.5 on that. It takes up to 9 plus. So I don't know whether our community is going to be really happy with potentially a 9% rate rise every year for the next 10 years. You know, so I can't support that. That's what the figures say. That's what it says, 9%. So I really can't support this. And what I would support is, I suppose, working to get our debt down. It's like a sine curve. We get our debt down. We do all the things that we need to do, which we have achieved here. We've actually achieved fairly good results with our transport. Only 5.7% is poor, etc. You get the debt down, then it opens up a capacity to borrow again. I doubt whether, when we get to year 10, we're going to actually have a capacity to borrow and try to achieve some of these big items which we've promised our community we're going to do. So in all consciousness, I can't support this budget plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? David Hughes?
Yeah, I mean, I'll raise the same matters that I spoke about at the council meeting where we, well, I didn't vote for it, but the councillors put this out for consultation with the 3.5% savings each year for four years, which is 14%. And at that time, I asked, where is the plan for these savings? We're going to save 3.5% for 4 years, which is 14%. There still is no real plan on those savings, where they're coming from, what programs, what projects. In the meantime, our asset management plans have identified extra expense, extra millions of dollars of work that's required as well. So it's the financial position that this plan, without a plan on the income side, it's probably fair on the spending side, but it's how we're going to afford to actually pay for it. And so we're not Burnside Council, which actually don't put a 14% pay rise for rates out to the Constitution. I think it got reduced to 9.75 or something, but our rates are really high already, so this is going to cost our community if we don't work on the income side. I've heard tonight the talk of budgets, and each year we do go through the budgets, and unfortunately we haven't really been as careful with our spending as probably we should have been. We're in operating deficit, which is really difficult to get out of once you're in operating deficit. And the operating deficit, to borrow to just operate as a council is a really terrible position to be in, which is the position we're in. It was one of the reasons why I actually ran for council in the first place, and that was one of the first things we were able to do was actually get out of that operating deficit. But to be back in it is a terrible thing. But there needs to be a high level of discipline by the councillors, working with staff to look at the income side of things, and our rates are already very high, and yes, we've got a lot of older assets that require work, but we're going to have to somehow afford that, and that's the difficult position we're in. And unfortunately, this draft long-term financial plan doesn't actually give us the plan on that income side at all, which is quite frustrating.
Thank you. Councillor Hennessy.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I describe myself as fiscally conservative, and heaven knows I have spent hours on the long-term financial plan and quizzed our executive manager endlessly. I'm also very familiar with the person who quizzed her for an hour. What I know, though, is that we now have a plan, and it's a high-level plan, and we haven't had that for a very long time in this council. As a first-term councillor, I think we've made a considerable change, and we now have, maybe it's not palatable, but we have a plan to get out of the problem we're in. We have to have that plan, and we need to stick to it. In our first term, we went very low with our rates. That is artificial and cannot. We cannot continue that way. We have to get out of this situation, and we're going to have to suck it up, and the community is going to have to be able to come along with us as we try and get through. We're not alone. Lots of other councils, lots of other businesses are in it. I'm comfortable. I object perhaps to some of the wording. We're not looking at a 9.5% rate increase. I think we need to be very careful with the words we use, because I think we frighten the community if we don't use very accurate descriptions that's been provided to us about what the long-term financial plan does. Going back to my earlier comment, it's up to us to be careful to communicate correct information to the community so that we don't inadvertently scare them with inaccurate information. For that reason, I'm going to support this plan.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Mayor. If there's no other discussion, I'm happy to wrap up the debate.
Yep. Thank you.
And of course, thank everyone for their contributions. I just touch on that point of discipline there, and it reminds me of one of the conversations which was had at that session, which I talked about, talking to this particular community member about sticking to the long-term financial plan and what that means, and talking about the previous long-term financial plan. And there was a point which came up about not sticking to the previous one, and we talked a bit about COVID. If we had stuck exactly to the long-term financial plan, we would have been insolvent overnight. Of course, there are always things which come up, and we as decision makers have a responsibility to react to those situations. But that's not to say discipline isn't important, and I think that we've had those discussions as well. We want that kind of discipline, the kind of discipline that we've seen as an example with Barossa Council with their big project and what they managed to do there, and how they were able to be disciplined in their spending and bringing in revenue for that. So I think that we are in a, I hear what's being said about debt. We are in a bad situation in regard to debt. We are in a bad situation in regard to our operating costs. But I'm about to use a metaphor, and we'll see if it sounded better in my head in just a minute. You know, we've already set sail, you know, and when these hard times come up, you know, we can't just, you know, we need to weather the storm. We can't just drop our anchor and say, no, we're going to stop here, and we're not going to do anything. We can't necessarily control, you know, what's going on, the way the wind's blowing, but what we can do is try and steer this ship in a direction to make sure that we're on the path we need to be on. You know, and we can't absolutely change everything overnight, but that debt is already there. It might not have manifested exactly in the way that it will be borne out in the next couple of years just yet, but that money has already been spent. We're already in that situation. What we have now is a plan to make sure that we get out of that situation, but more importantly than focusing on the past, I think what we've done, which is powerful, is we've acknowledged that there is an issue, we've outlined what that issue is, and we've now said, here is the plan to move forward so that we can focus on achieving our future goals. And I think that that's what this plan does well. And I'm of the belief that that metaphor did sound better in my head. But I hope that helped get the point across.
Thank you. The debate is now closed. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? All those against? It is carried. Thank you. General purpose, page 20 of 103, general purpose financial statements 2/23/24. Who would like to move this motion? You want to move that motion, David? Thank you. Thank you, David. Do you want to talk to it? You want to move it? Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Hughes and seconded by Councillor Shanks. I'll just let them get that up. Okay, any discussion? Any discussion on this matter? No discussion? So, David Hughes, do you want to... I'll put that motion. All those in favour of the motion? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Financial performance summary 2/23/24. That council adopts the 2/23/24 financial performance summary report. Do you want to move it? Thank you. Do you want to move it?
Yes, I'd like to move it, Mayor. I just wanted to thank the staff. I find this type of report quite useful. It breaks down, for example, the $4 million variance, which could, you know, raise quite a few eyebrows. Very clearly explained what's happened and why. And I think if people take the time to type of read this detail, it gives us all some comfort in what's happening and how the staff is accurately reflecting what's happening with our budget situation. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Samble. Thank you. Councillor Samble. Thank you. So we have a mover and a seconder. Any other discussion? Councillor Shanks.
Thank you, Mayor. This is one of those other discussions that the Mayor and I contributed to in the audit and risk, and picking up on Councillor Hennessy's point as well, I think in the past we might not have maybe communicated the net effect of these things. I think I was speaking to it at the audit and risk of, I find it really hard to communicate how netting $4 million worth of state government money actually superficially shows us in a worse position. And I can't explain it any other way, because it is a superficial time that the money has come in and it's unspent, and all of a sudden the financial year's over. So you do need to account for it. How we account for these things moving forward and then track actuals and quarantine that money and communicate it, I think is a body of work moving forward. But I like where where the thinking is. And as the same as the previous report, it's not that I believe councillors don't understand this. I think it is a trust exercise in the financial reporting that we're seeing come through, and we do appreciate staff's time, even though sometimes you might not see us speak to certain items as well.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Hennessy, are you happy for me to put the motion that I put that motion? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. First budget update as at 30th September 2024. Officer's recommendation. Who would like to move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Hughes. Do you want to move it? Do you want to move it? Do you wish to speak? No?
No, just other to, again, thank the staff for the reports, because it does explain some quite complicating factors with that 4.23 and 4 points. It becomes, the timing of things. But it's just how we're tracking at the moment.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hennessy. Councillor Hennessy. Thank you. Do you wish to speak? No. Councillor Hughes, are you happy for me to put that motion? Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Oh, appointment of Deputy Mayor. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I'll hand over to the returning officer. Yes.
Through Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
I think we need to make the first decision just to get us through, which is to reaffirm that we maintain the Deputy Mayor position.
Okay,
So,
so
I'll hand
decision
back to
one,
you.
decision one, do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor. Councillor Shanks moved and Councillor Solomon seconded that council in accordance with section 51(3) of the Local Government Act 1999 maintains the Deputy Mayor position for a 12-month term. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. So now, what? Yeah, I'll ask for nominations. So what?
Madam Mayor, I'm just wondering, the Deputy Mayor position is a very honourable one and a supportive one to you. And as Deputy Mayor in the past has been Cody, and that I just wonder whether it's fitting at all for the Deputy Mayor over the last 12 months to speak of what he's done his role.
I would ask Cody Davies and Councillor Shanks to speak. Which would you like to go first?
Well, hold on. So I think I'll... So I guess I don't want to speak twice because I am running again, so, but I guess it would just open it for nominations first and then we can give our speeches when we get to that.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Carrot,
What?
I asked the question if the Deputy Mayor for the last 12 months would like to just say a few words about his role of acting as the Deputy Mayor and the position. I didn't say that he was nominating again. I didn't say that.
Would you like to speak on the last 12 months, Cody?
Yeah, look, I think this has been an interesting 12 months to be Deputy Mayor. I think there's been 4 CEOs while I've been the Deputy Mayor, which must be a record of some kind. But, you know, I think it's been, it's been quite valuable. It's been my first time, you know, in the position, and I think we've been able to work together well and go along to, you know, some fun events and, you know,
We did.
advocate in
we
the
did.
community, you know, yeah, go to the theatre and all the exciting
Yes,
things.
we did. We did
Um,
go to the theatre.
But, you know, I think it's been great to be able to advocate for our community in that way, so.
Okay. So who would like to be Deputy Mayor? Councillor Cody Davies and Councillor Shanks. So over to you. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yep.
Seeing as we've got 2 elected members who have nominated, we will run a secret ballot process.
Yep.
I've just got my team preparing the paperwork. So the process will be, we've had 2 nominations. You'll be required to write one name on the sheet of paper that comes around to you, and then I'll be the returning officer when it comes back. Actually, three, Madam Mayor. Through you, Madam Mayor, if I may.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
We've just had a request from the floor whether the candidates might like to say a few words about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
nomination.
Would you like to say a few words?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Mayor. Firstly, just to thank everyone for the opportunity of the last 12 months. It's been, I've only been working with our new CEO for, about a week, but I'm very excited to, help him settle into our community. I think we've worked well together so far, and I managed to drag him along to the park run, which was a great time.
Yeah, we did. We did drag him along to the park run.
Here in Gawler, we'll be facing some challenges over the upcoming year. Next 6 months will be a time for the new CEO to get his bearings, and I guess part of my pitch is that providing continuity there as the person who was part of that team in working with the interim staff leadership, providing some continuity in helping him settle in through the new period. I think one of my strengths is in being a facilitator who will, listen, make sure everyone's heard. I think we've had some great successes as a team this year. Obviously, we've had a difficult financial situation, but this June we managed to unanimously vote on approving a budget, which I think is the first time that's happened in my 6 years on council and probably beyond. And that is not because we all suddenly agreed with each other, if you listen to the meeting before this, but it's because as a team we were able to make sure that no one felt left behind by that process, and everyone felt comfortable that they'd been able to ask the questions that they needed to ask to be able to vote for that budget. And that's the kind of council team that I guess I'd like to continue to work towards. The biggest challenge we're likely to have over this upcoming year is our work with the Greater Adelaide Regional Plan, the GARP. I think it's important for us to have advocates to speak for Gawler so that our town and community don't get, swept away by the tides of state government planning, to use Councillor Solomon's boat metaphor. And when it comes to advocating, I can tell you I have a deep passion for this town and the journey it's going through. And actually, my problem is that I like to talk about it too much. I think, for example, last month I had the chance to catch up with some friends in Melbourne, and they're not people with any interest in local government. They're, the Victorian council elections were kicking off at the time, and they weren't sure which council they were in. Or who their local representatives were. But, when we caught up for the first time in a year, you know what they asked me? They said, "Oh, how's the town of Gawler? Did you ever get that speed limit increased on that road?" And so, unfortunately I had to tell them not yet. But it just goes to show that anyone can take an interest in local government if you're enthusiastic enough about it. So that's the kind of advocate that I'd like to be for our town. Whether I'm just walking through Gawler and interacting with our local businesses, and I love to walk through Gawler, or if I'm at an event representing the mayor. So whether it's state or federal representatives or anyone else who will listen, I love to talk about the needs of our town. It's been a fantastic 12 months as Deputy Mayor, and I hope you're able to continue that work for another year. Thank you.
Councillor Shanks.
Thank you, Mayor, and full respect to the opposition here in this proxy election. I have a similar sentiment. Although I might have a different approach, I think whichever candidate that my colleagues choose, I think will be a good choice moving forward. I guess my position or my appetite to step back into the role is the constructive nature of the leadership group we were able to build in the first year of our term, and being able to be there as that supporter, which actually, funnily enough, did actually come into the new year as not being Deputy Mayor just by default, which is fine. You do put your hand up to be in that leadership group. I understand in the report it does talk about the main function of a Deputy Mayor is presiding over meetings that the Mayor is unable to attend. It talks about attending civic functions and representing council, completing documents and required signature on our Mayor's behalf. Those 3 dot points I don't disagree with, but I also believe that there is a lot more to the role in the supporting of that leadership group. And especially now, where our business is evolving, I think in a somewhat positive way. But I do see us in the beginning of a journey, and our new CEO is a big part of that. And I do have a fair bit of experience in making sure that new employees coming in are supported in a professional manner, along with the Mayor would be my want here, to ensure Chris has all the resources on the elected member side, because I know we'll have it on the executive side, to provide that continuity to steal your term there, Cody, with respect, in relation to that strategic thinking and how we're going to deliver on the new way of delivering in the business for the 12-month term. I'm a sucker for punishment, I'll be honest, and realistically, the first time I put my hand up for this role, I did put a lot into it, and I also put a lot into the chair of the PMP. Both roles were something that it did almost kill me, to be fair, with where we were at in the business at the time. Should I get up this time, I learned from my mistakes, and I'll probably choose to step down as chair of the PMP, still to be involved in the leadership group, because I think it is quite important, but that's how much importance I hold in the role, and what I'm hoping to have your support to contribute once again. So again, utmost respect for Deputy Mayor Davies, and I don't think you're going to make a wrong choice regardless.
Thank you, Cody, Councillor Davies and Councillor Shanks. So we now vote. We now vote. We choose one person. We choose one person. There you go.
Right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll now read out progressively the votes. Councillor Davies. Councillor Shanks. Councillor Shanks. Councillor Shanks. Councillor Shanks. Councillor Davies. Councillor Shanks. Councillor Shanks. an informal
You got an informal vote.
ballot. It's interesting. Do have one informal. Councillor Davies. I just need to seek a bit of advice just before I declare this. Just excuse me, Madam Mayor.
They ticked my name. They ticked my name. Which is good. Which is good. So,
Thank you for your patience, Madam Mayor and councillors. I've conferred with governance. Considering that we already have a clear position, one informal vote is not going to throw the process. So therefore, I'd recommend to you, Madam Mayor, that we place Councillor Shanks's name into the recommendation
okay, thank you.
for council to formally move and second and carry.
So, so if we move that up. Oh, yeah, you've got a conflict, yeah.
Yep. So, sorry, Madam
Yeah,
Mayor,
one
that was
informal.
remiss of me. I should have
Yeah.
summarised that. Thank you, Councillor Hennessy.
Yeah.
I'd just been given the official summary.
Can we move that up?
Councillor Shanks was 6 formal votes. Councillor Davey was 3 formal votes, and we have 1 informal vote, making a total of 10, and we have 1 absence this evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
So if we can move that up, appoints Councillor Shanks as the Deputy Mayor until the ordinary council meeting. As the Deputy Mayor until the ordinary council meeting to be held on 25th of November 2025 in accordance with section 51(4) of the Local Government Act 1999. Thanks. If we can move it up. Thanks, Councillor Davies, for his service in the Deputy Mayor role over the past 12 months. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you
I'll declare a material conflict and I'll deal with it by leaving the room.
okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. What?
May I ask the question? I don't think it needs to be recorded, the votes in the minutes of this meeting. I think that's inappropriate. Thank you.
And if I may, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry I didn't pick that up earlier. I absolutely agree.
Councillor Shanks.
It's a private ballot and we do not need to record the actual numbers.
No.
We'll keep a record for our confidential records, but for the sake of the
will.
minutes, it just needs the name to be
No.
placed there.
So, decision 2, who wants to move the motion? David Hughes and Councillor Davies. Councillor Hughes and Councillor Davies. Oh, Deputy Mayor. No, it's not Deputy Mayor. Councillor, yeah. Yeah, thank you. So we've got a mover and a seconder. Any discussion? I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Can we bring Nathan back in? So he didn't want to be presiding member.
Because he's now the deputy, it's going to mean we've got to change a few words in the motion.
Yeah.
So just get the team to put that
I
on the
might
screen
be.
for you.
I might be presiding member. Yeah. So. Reappoints the count. If we can move that up. can't see it. I can't see it. I can't see it. Reappoints the council members appointed to the Chief Executive Officer Performance Management Panel at the ordinary council meeting held on 28th November 2023, except for the Deputy Mayor until the end of the council term, being Mayor Redman, Councillor Hennessy, Councillor Shanks and Councillor White. Appoints Deputy Mayor Councillor Shanks. Yeah. Do you want to be presiding member? You don't. So I can be presiding member. I can be presiding member. Yeah. What? Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I can just help direct traffic for a minute. Given that Councillor Shanks has mentioned that he wishes to step down from presiding member, we're just going to adjust the recommendation that's before you to reflect that fact. You'll notice on the screen now that's changed. And Madam Mayor, we're going to add a recommendation which is asking Council to consider the appointment of the presiding member.
Oh,
and
okay.
Who they wish, and,
Okay.
and
Okay.
Council can determine that.
Appoints to the vacant councillor position on the CEO PMP until the end of the council term as a result of Councillor Shanks being elected to the position of Deputy Mayor, an automatic position appointed to the panel. So how do we proceed? Through Madam Mayor, I'll just give the team a few minutes just to get the wording correct. But essentially, sorry, I've lost the screen as well. Who else wants to be presiding member? The council. The council.
Yeah.
We determine the. Yeah.
So I think probably for the sake of clarity, given we've got another number of actions happening here, Madam Mayor, it may pay to deal with them one by one, if you're comfortable.
Yep. Okay. So you'll be returning officer?
Certainly, if I'm needed, I certainly will be.
Yeah.
So through Madam Mayor, if you'd like to proceed dealing with point 1 of the recommendation.
Yeah. So we have officer's recommendation. Who wants to move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Solomon? Do you want to move? Do you want to move it?
Sorry. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Right. Madam Mayor, if you're comfortable, for the council to consider 1 and 2 together at this point in time?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Okay. So how do we proceed? What? Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. So do we have a mover? Councillor Solomon. Deputy Councillor Hughes seconded. Thank you.
That was...
Councillor Solomon moved and Councillor Hughes seconded. Thank you. Yep. Okay. Right. How do we... What do we...
Is there any discussion?
Oh, any discussion? Councillor Shanks?
Yeah, just quickly. I think this is a very important panel, and I do like the fact that we've sort of changed into the panel, but I am keen to see how that works moving forward. If members remember, it was a Section 41 committee, and then we moved for the professional panel. I'm really humbled to be a part of it still, but how we set up the measures and work with our CEO and the performance is an integral role of this panel. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this version of it comes to fruition, and looking forward to continuing the working with the members.
Thank you. All right. So how do we proceed? Oh, so I'm going to put this to the vote. Councillor Solomon, are you happy for me to put that to the vote? I'm going to put that to the vote.
Are we also voting for Councillor White?
Yes, we are. Councillor White, yes. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Appoints councillor to the vacant. Okay. Cool. The nominations to fill the vacant position. Yeah, okay. So, I'm gonna put my hand up for the presiding member, and Councillor Hennessy's going to put her hand up for the presiding member. Yeah. Yeah.
We're just dealing with the position that's vacant because Councillor Shanks is the deputy mayor now.
Oh,
so we
right.
just put in another councillor.
We're going to put another councillor on. Oh, right. Okay. So who do you want to be on? Councillor Davies appoints Councillor Davies.
Do we have any other nominations?
Any other nominations? Councillor Solomon. Councillor Solomon, self-nominated. Okay. To fill the vacant position. Okay. Awesome. So, what do we do? What do we do? Hand it to me. Hand it to you.
Through Madam Mayor, given that we've now got 2 nominations, we will be going through another secret ballot process as per our rules. So as per the previous instructions, I need to be clear that on the ballot paper you have a choice between Councillor Davies or Councillor Solomon, and I'm expecting to see one name on the ballot paper.
Okay, great. There you go. So we don't do that, no.
I'm happy not to read it as I go, but I will have to read out the summary.
Okay, thank you.
Fair?
Thank you.
Comfortable with that? And I was just reverting to what I had been used to.
What's happening? Right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to declare that I had 10 formal votes that time. If you could place Councillor Davies' name in the motion for Council to formally consider, please.
Thank you. Yeah. Councillor Solomon, thank you. Councillor Hughes seconded. Yeah. Bring that up. Thank you. So I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. What? Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Call for nominations, yeah. Mayor Redman and Councillor Hennessy, yes. Thank you. Councillor Hennessy.
So 3, Madam Mayor. Again, as we have 2 nominations, we will get good practice at doing secret ballots.
There you go.
Just to clarify again, 1 name on the ballot paper.
Informal, yeah. I don't know.
So just to summarise the voting process, Madam Mayor, we had 1 informal vote, but I'd now request that Councillor Hennessy's name be placed in the motion for Council, in the recommendation for Council to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we need to have a mover and a seconder. We need to have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Lorna, thank you. Brian, Councillor Samble seconded, thank you. Yeah. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Thank you. Right. Corporate and Community Services Committee and IES Committee Structure and Membership. Susie Reichstein, Team Leader Governance. Thank you. Yeah.
If it's all right with you, Mayor, I wouldn't mind moving this with my additional point 4.
Yeah, point 4.
If that's all right, Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I need to have these in writing. Yeah, no. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm calling for a motion, somebody to move the motion and somebody to second it.
I'm happy to move this way if I can, Mayor.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Am I right to speak to it if
Yeah.
I can? Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, I guess we've had evolving a conversation over past years. I think colleagues from last term will remember some of these conversations starting even back then about potential of picking up efficiencies through our meeting structures, how that looks. I am willing to try this out, and the only reason I'm putting forward a point 4 is I don't think, and with all due respect to the author and the recommendation, I think there is a process that we can all agree, if we're willing to go on the journey together, that we do need to be under constant review, because if in 6 months' time there's some tweaking to actually help us be the best we can be, I think we should be doing it then, rather than coming in the November meeting and sort of saying, oh, actually, this didn't work, that didn't work, and all of a sudden we're providing a barrage of feedback. You know, I think it's a bit messy. And I think also, should we choose to support this motion, I think the onus is also on us to provide feedback in real time too, because if this is delivered right, I think it does have the potential to be a good cross conversational pieces during those information briefings. If it's done wrong though, I think we could lose some of the really good substance conversations we have at the IES CCS level. So to be honest, there is a risk that personally I'm willing to move this to take, with the ability of that constant review and making sure that we are providing feedback in real time. And the pulse check just sort of, I think, is trying to make that a bit more official, that at that 6 month time, if nothing else, we're going to come together and we're going to go, hey, what's working and what's not? And what do we miss about the committee structures, and how do we incorporate that into the new model, etc. So look, again, in the mentality of trying to advance to be the best we can be, I'm willing to trial it, but how it works will, I think, be up to all of us in the delivery of it.
Thank you. Councillor Davies, you want to second it?
Yep, yes, I support the Deputy Mayor's motion. I think this is something that I've been a bit wary about, in that, yes, I think I sent around some information yesterday around how much time our committees actually take up and the added load on the agenda potentially. But I'm willing to give it a go on the understanding that this is that we're trialling it for a 12-month period and we'll have a look after 6 months. I think there are ways that this could be more efficient, but there's also the concern that if we do end up having council meetings where we are calling special council meetings because we're halfway through the agenda because we tried to take on a 600-page attachments IES report that no longer is going to the IES, then we're going to have to look at this and say this isn't working. But I'm happy to give it a go for the 12-month period.
Any other discussion, Councillor Sample?
Thank you, Mayor Karen. Yes, I agree with what Cody has said. I'm so good to see that this is going to be a trial because staff put such a lot of effort, and especially with what the first part of our meeting here tonight, we have now committed ourselves to some huge challenges, and it's most important that we're working with the staff not to delay any activities, and I'll be very happy to hear our CEO comments from time to time, which he'll get back from the staff anyway on it. So I'll certainly support it for this structure, and if it can give it more of a positive turnover and also supportiveness to the staff that are helping us drive this train down the road, I'll be very much happy.
Councillor Koch?
Yeah, I've just got a question. What will be the format? Will we be provided with information beforehand? I mean, my preferred option is that we get information so we can actually read it and get prepared instead of just coming in and just looking at a PowerPoint and having trouble sort of understanding it all.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The answer is it'll probably be a mix of approaches. The undertaking I'd like to give is that where I'm able to give prior information, I absolutely will. And that hopefully will be a default position. There may be times when I can't give a great deal, but what I would undertake then is to give you the best précis I could give you so that you're not rocking up to a meeting cold and you at least understand the topics we're going to cover, perhaps some of the matters we're looking to discuss and get your feedback on, so that when you come to a meeting, you've at least got enough information, if I can't give you a more fuller brief, that you're not coming in cold. And if I may, just with an indulgence, Madam Mayor, I was just reflecting on the 6-month pulse test, which I think is excellent, full support. But one thing I will put in place is, you know, when you attend a training session and they ask you for feedback when you finish the training, I think after each session we might just provide you with a sheet in the room, maybe, so that we can get ongoing feedback along the way, so that we're absolutely reacting to any enhancement opportunities that might present along the way as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so we've got a mover and a seconder. Any discussion? Councillor Hennessy.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Koch. That was one of my queries. And thank you, CEO, for and I think it's having a feedback on each session. The whole idea of information briefings, we haven't quite firmed up enough. We've had some really good ones and others haven't been quite so successful. This paper's probably the second amount of time in my mind that I've had to spend thinking about it. I've been watching council meetings over 40 years and it's always had an IES and a CCS. So this is a fairly big change, and I must admit I've had feedback from members of the public on this. It is a risk we're taking, I suspect, but it's again based on trust and based on trying to find efficiencies to all of our times. I certainly support, thank you, Deputy Mayor Shanks, for the 6-month review idea. I think that's also worthwhile as we test this new format. It seems obvious to me that we're going to have more than one information briefing a month as we go through things like the budget and extraordinary things like GARP. So it's not going to reduce our time, but maybe it'll make it a much more efficient way of doing it. To be quite honest, I'm going to listen to the rest of the debate before I make my mind up on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, I'm actually in support of trialling this. In my day job, I actually give council briefings, and Wednesday night I was at Copper Coast Council, and my consultants, 2 different sets of consultants, delivered 2 briefings to Copper Coast, roughly 20 minutes each, and then the 3rd session for that night was a confidential session which we left, and it went really well. I've done that with other councils, and I think we've got the opportunity to have multi-sessions. One of the councils I went to, it was a presentation from their media and communication staff, and they were quite junior staff, and the councillors really enjoyed the session, and it was really good feedback both ways. And that night I think they had 4 different items, and I had one item, but it was really interesting to actually see how other councils run workshops, and you can have a lot. It is demanded of me if I present workshops that I have to get my PowerPoints in 7 days before, and the councillors get those PowerPoints 4 or 5 days. So they actually know what we're presenting. So, and I think having that 20 minutes or so is really quite strategic as well. We've had a lot of sessions here, and it's no complaint to the staff, but we can spend hours on an issue and it's bogged down, and a lot of times, if we had some prior preparation, sometimes you can't, you're busy and everything else, but yeah, I have seen it work really well with the councils that I've been involved with, and I do think it's really important to try and get those multi-sessions, because otherwise we will be having lots of extra council meetings and special council meetings, and I think it's really good for staff, because I worked in a council directly under a CEO, and I had to give monthly reports for 9 years, and then quarterly strategic meetings, and the monthly reports were just what we were doing, and that was just really time consuming, and it's just a waste of, I think, a lot of people's time, those monthly reports. It's good that this council doesn't do that, but I think we have to make sure that these sessions are really strategic and time bound as well. I mean, if it's on budget, it would probably be the whole session on budget, but with a lot of these briefings, especially if we're going to try and tie all our items in, I think that 20 minutes, half an hour at maximum, 5 minutes of questions, and being really strategic with those presentations would be really good to try it out.
Councillor Lorna.
Thank you. I'm in support of this at the moment, with point 4 coming into having a touch point there as well. Truthfully, I know no different. This is the first time being in the government sector and dealing with all these committees sort of things. So one thing I really want to, make sure that we capture in this is that we also, have the ability for, streaming pretty much. We have a lot of good debate and conversation in the public, in this room, where I think a lot of topics people want to tune in and see what we're talking about. So I really interested to see how it goes. So being fresh to it all, it may be better, it may not. I don't know yet. So we'll see. Thanks.
Any other discussion? No? Councillor Shanks, you can wrap up the debate.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, absolutely. I think conversation had is the tail end of the conversation that we've been building to have. A couple of the points that I'll pick up. Councillor Hennessy, the watching of council meetings for the last 40 years is no small feat. And you've also seen the evolution of council coming from that clerk into administration role, and potentially, watching that evolution. We are in a council that we provide now 200 odd services, and the committee structure, I really liked some of the robust conversations we were able to have, and I think the onus is going to be on us to still be able to have those, decision making aside, obviously, but I think it is a good chance to show what we're willing to trial to evolve into that modern day local government delivery potential. I'm not saying this is the solution to us that are trying to manage time, but it is a potential that it could be. I agree with Councillor Lorna's sentiment around ensuring we don't lose the ability of those conversations that I think we all agree are quite beneficial in the IES and CCS, not losing those conversations as becoming the resource that I think the information briefings could turn into. And to be fair, I think they are an easier sell through our networks as well, because we all know those ratepayers, those punters that have certain interests in certain items, and we have the ability now when an information session comes up to say, hey, tune in, you're interested in this particular item. Buried in a CCS agenda that is 1,000 pages long isn't as easy a sell at times. Whether or not that comes to fruition, this is merely an opinion at this point, but until we trial, we won't know. So how this is delivered and the benefits, I'd love to be able to see the benefits that Councillor Hughes has seen in other council areas and see that come through, noting that we do have a lot of work and we are going to have to customise certain information briefings still in relation to budget and tailor making. But I think the first 6 months of this trial is actually quite an interesting one, because we're always going to have the budget process coinciding as well. So it is an interesting time to provide feedback with the information briefings we typically have, and then the new form as well. So hopefully we can get some support for this, and yeah, let's give it a go.
Any other discussion? The council, the motion is, I'll put the motion, all those in favour of the motion, carried unanimously. Thank you. So we now move to 10.9, Heritage Collection Committee Structure Options and council member appointments, page 55 of 103. Who wants to be on? Oh, you want to be? You want to be on it? Yeah. I want to be on it. I want to be on it. So Councillor Koch, Councillor Hennessy, Councillor Samble and myself. There's four. There's four. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay. So we put in Councillor Hennessy, Councillor Koch, Councillor Hennessy, Councillor Koch, Councillor Samble and Mayor Redman. I'm last. Okay. Okay, thank you. Right. So who wants to move the motion? Councillor Hughes? Yeah, yeah. Can we move it down? So Councillor Hughes has moved the motion. Do you want to speak, Councillor Hughes?
Just to say, it is a really important sort of committee, and I mean, and Councillor or Deputy Mayor Shanks just mentioned to me also, you know, the collection is really quite huge and really unique. So, just how we display and get those materials and just the public involved, and it's a massive task. Right. So, yeah.
So, who wants to second it? Councillor Davies. Deputy Mayor Davies, no. Councillor Davies, so thank you. Any discussion?
Thank you, Mayor. As somebody who's been on this committee now for many years, including before I was elected member, I agree with the changes to the term of reference. I think it empowers the committee to make some of those decisions, as the report writer said, using their expertise. I think that's an excellent way of moving forward. It will therefore make more sense coming through to council for whatever decisions are felt need to come to council rather than the more mundane ones, I suspect. However, certainly we will continue to keep the council informed because, as Councillor Hughes said, this is an exciting collection that's now being leveraged to improve both the economic development and the tourism to this town. It has huge potential. It is being picked up and given recognition both at a state and a national level. When you can get foundations that are interstate to provide funding to restore some of your material, I think that's pretty indicative of something that we have that's a pretty significant leverage, something that's quite unique to Gawler, if you think about it. So yeah, we will certainly keep council elected members involved with what's happening and some of the exciting developments that I know are coming up in this area. Thank you.
The discussion? No? Councillor Sample?
Mayor Karen, I certainly agree what Councillor Hennessy has said, and also Councillor Hughes. One of the things that doesn't seem to be discussed in the many years that I've been involved around here is who picks on Tuesday nights for a meeting, or Wednesday nights, or whatever. And I just wonder, because I was hearing Councillor Hughes, I don't know how he fits meetings into his life because he's got a meeting every night of the week. But as councils, you know, like Tuesday night has been religiously a council meeting night, and there is something like 5 committees in the town that had their meetings on Tuesday night. No one has their meeting on Thursday nights, but I mean, you know, I suppose we don't want to fill up the whole week. The other thing too, the reason that I'd like to be part of this is because I'm also on the National Trust Committee, which is completely reformed with a brand new committee and very enthusiastic committee members that are there, and with the big development going on down the bottom of the street which adjoins them, there's a lot of thoughts and plans about doing something to promote that as well. But all we are hearing is that this committee, without a doubt, and with Helen's Councillor Hennessy's work involved and the staff, it's just been fantastic, and so I look forward to being on it, only because I'm old and I'd like to see some of these old things. But I'd also mention that one of the things that does bother me a bit is that some of this beautiful collection of heritage stuff, how do people get to see it? And where is it? Is it locked in ship containers is one thing that I'm sort of going to be, you know, working with Councillor Hennessy and the others on that, because this stuff, this material shouldn't be just locked away somewhere. And we've got a lot of changes going on with now the Arts Centre up the top of the Visitor Information Centre, maybe the bottom of the Visitor Centre, now that tourism mainly being done online, could be just a throw-in. But somewhere, we're not going to have any money to build any new buildings. I don't think Sharon's got any more money to build any buildings. But I certainly support being on, and I'll look forward to being on it.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Councillor Hughes, do you want to wrap up the debate? No? I'll put that motion. All those in favour of the motion, carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so Youth Advisory Committee structure options and council member appointments. Do you want to move item 3?
Yeah, I'm happy to move just point 3 of the officer's recommendation in isolation, but I think it's an indicative election first.
What? Oh, I call for nominations. Councillor Davies and Councillor, are you putting your hand up? No, you're not. You're not putting your hand up. So you're the only one. It's Councillor Davies. So yeah. Oh, Councillor Shanks. Thank you, Councillor Shanks. Okay. Officer's recommendation, who wants to move the motion? Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Seconded, Councillor Solomon. Thank you. I just want to bring that up, yeah. Councillor Nathan Shanks and Councillor Isaac Solomon, thank you. Yeah, you moved it. Councillor Hennessy moved it, not Councillor Shanks. Thank you. Okay, so Councillor Hennessy, are you happy for me to put that motion? Thank you. Oh, you want to speak? Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, well, just to speak to the reason why we chose this structure option. Look, this is, it's a potentially a good idea to turn the Youth Advisory Committee into a working group, but I just don't feel comfortable without first talking to the Youth Advisory Committee about it. I know there's always a range of, we have a lot of younger people who are more on the events side of things and less into the motions, and then we have some, like Councillor Solomon before he was on the council, Jack Gill, others who've used the official motion format to do some good work.
Yeah.
And so it would be good to consult and see what the mix is and how we can accommodate everyone in doing what they want to do with the Youth Advisory Committee.
Okay. So, Councillor Hennessy, are you happy for me to put the motion?
Is it
you want to
possible
speak?
Yes, please.
You want to speak?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'll just speak briefly, and of course concur with what Councillor Davies said. But also add that I think, and you yourself, Mayor, would know that when the Youth Advisory Committee was formed, that was something which was wasn't unique to Town of Gawler, but it was certainly a big step which was taken. I believe you may have been a councillor at the time, and that was. And it was.
I was on that committee.
Yeah.
I was on that committee.
Yeah. And it's something which I know we've been proud of for a number of years, both that about how we give that voice to youth, but also to the impact that can have. And that's not to say that it can't continue to do that with a new structure. But I think that before we go about changing the structure of the committee, it would be good to speak to the young people involved to ensure that they do still continue to have that. Personally, the structure, things may have changed and this may not be the case for everyone. Certainly the structure of that committee helped me immensely because I was on it for several years before I became a councillor. In fact, I resigned the day the votes were being counted. So it was, that structure and having that understanding was beneficial to me. We had conversations at the time about whether we move away from that structure, and there was conversations at the time, I believe, happening in Campbelltown City Council as well about the use of a Section 41 committee. I really valued being able to bring items such as the VORT testing issue and, of course, the youth-based trainee issue, which we had to the council, and making sure that, even if it wasn't something that council necessarily agree with, it's at least considered at council meetings. And so I think it's important to ensure that that continues to occur, and I have no doubt that it will. However, I just also want to make sure that what we're communicating to our community and to the young people who are on the YAC is that this is something which is being done in their best interest, and it's not an attempt to take away that power to make sure that they must have their decisions heard by this council. Yeah. And I don't think that was ever going to happen, but I do think there is an element that there could be, that it leaves it too open to perception for my liking, and that's why I'm supporting this.
Do you want to speak, Councillor Shanks? Yeah. Deputy Mayor Shanks.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Yeah, I concur with my colleagues. I remember my first year in the chamber, and I put my hand up for the Youth Advisory Committee. I remember being bitterly jealous of my colleague to my left with how across meeting procedures he was, and I'm fumbling through it. And then also just to, I guess, watch that space almost harbour some of the great elected members we have in this room, and also will continue to flourish because of the interest that has grown in the space. I think this motion, if it is the right way forward, lands if it comes through as a recommendation from the Youth Advisory Committee, funnily enough. Because if we do see that come through, and again, no disrespect to Susie and her team, but actually seeing those recommendations be fed up with all the understanding of the meeting procedure side of things, and in the report it clearly identifies, it takes out the rigidity, which I don't disagree with, but there are some really good cases of that rigidity and learnings that we are benefiting from today. And it would be great to be able to see the Youth Advisory Committee understand what the difference is and provide that feedback through. I actually put my hand up because, one, no one else would, but two, I want to be that second elected member to help that journey come to fruition, and then let's see how it lands. So yeah, I'm excited to move forward, albeit in the same way at this particular time, but yeah, let's commit to tease it out.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Hennessy, are you happy for me to put the...
If I can, just to wrap it up, thank you very much to the input from my colleagues on this. I think this is a better way to go forward. I think there's been some respectful discussion behind the scenes as we tried to manipulate this into a better format, so thank you for that, and I look forward to some more information back from the YAC reps on where they go in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So, page 63 of 103, 1011, Council Assessment Panel Council Member Appointments. You want to be on the council? Yep, okay. Appoints Councillor Solomon. Any other nominations? No? Appoints Councillor Solomon to the Council Assessment Panel until 28th November 2025. So we need, as deputy members to the Council Assessment Panel until 28th November 2025. Who wants to be the deputy members? You want to be Councillor Hughes, and somebody else, Councillor Hennessy. Thank you. Okay, awesome. So, who wants to move it? Councillor Vallelonga moved it. Councillor Hughes has seconded it. Thank you. Councillor Vallelonga, are you happy for me to put the motion? Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Code of Practice for Council and Committee Meeting Procedures Review, page 66 of 103. What? What?
This is just the notes.
Oh, right, okay. So who wants to move the motion? Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Vallelonga, thank you. Councillor Hughes, are you happy for me to put that motion? All those in favour? Oh, did you want to speak? Okay.
Yeah, just to say again, as part of a whole range of efficiencies we're looking at tonight, this is useful, needed to be revisited, and the changes are certainly very suitable. I just wanted to draw attention to one of the areas that I think we are actually improving in, that the procedures that we have should encourage appropriate community participation in the affairs of council. I think we've come a long way in the last, well, certainly in my time here, and I think that's something that I would like to stress, that we are continuing to look for that way of appropriate community participation in everything we do, in every report that we read through. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Councillor Hughes, are you happy for me to put the motion? Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Audit and Risk Committee membership appoints councillor. You want to be on it? You want to be in there? You want to be on there? How many nominations have we got? How many nominations have we got? So you want to be on, Councillor Hughes, and you want to be on. Yeah. Just Councillor Shanks. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I think members will remember that last time we did this dance, the recommendation was for a 2-year term. I think, if you recall, I said, look, I don't know if I can commit to that 2-year term upon reflection. The continuity, I understand why it was put forward.
Yep.
However, if I put my hand up, that will be that 2-year term, taking me to the 225. So I actually would probably say, hey, can I change that with the members' blessing to be that 12-month term? Because I think the work that we're doing on the audit and risk, and personally, I am finding my feet a little bit, and I've almost just found it still a lot of work to do, and then to start off, I think I would undo some of the work that I've committed to it. Personally, but hopefully I have the Chamber's support to continue on. And number two, if I'm the mover of this, Peter Fowler-Jones has been a wonderful asset. He's
an exceptional asset.
Absolutely. Well, I've really appreciated the way that he looks at things.
Yeah.
One of the themes that seems to be ongoing is that ability to be able to report actuals against how we reported it at the end of the budget year, not just actuals in the running tally. And that was a common theme of sort of showing what we went out to the community with, and then how we're tracking against that consistently. Again, I think he's a valuable asset because of the ability of where he sits on other councils as well. So he brings in that knowledge on what other councils are doing. Also. So I'm more than happy to support this motion, albeit that I have an interest, I guess.
Yep. Thank you. Who wants to move it? Councillor Hughes?
I actually would like to see if we can actually put it out. It may well be that Peter Fowler-Jones gets the position of independent member, but just do an open call to see who else is out there, because Peter Fowler-Jones has been on our audit committee for quite a while now. And in my earlier days, when I did do audit committee for a long time, we actually had some amazing different accountants that came and really shook things up.
They did shake things up.
And really challenged us as councillors and the council staff. There's forensic accountants, there's all sorts of people out there that are really quite amazing. But not to take anything away from Peter Fowler-Jones, but if we were to change that second part to an open call at this stage to see who else is out there, I think that might be a good thing to do.
Okay, thank you. How do we do that? How do we do that?
Through Madam Mayor, well, we can ask either as a variation and ask the permission of the mover and a second that we don't have. But I'm conscious it hasn't been. Sorry. Right. So therefore, it's at the discretion of Councillor Hughes to move that way.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hughes, are you changing the motion? What are you changing it to?
Just a point two, an open call for an independent member to the Audit and Risk Committee for a further 2 years. I realise there might be some costs with advertising, but I do think Peter Fairley-Jones does a great job.
Process
but
be undertaken.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. A recruitment process be undertaken to an independent member. No, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. A recruitment process be undertaken to select an independent member to the Audit and Risk Committee for a further 2-year term commencing from 1st of January 2025. Is that the way you wish to go?
Yes, and maybe a point three to actually thank Peter Fairley-Jones for his service and encourage him to apply as well. Okay. So this is not any sign of, it's just to see. Yeah.
Say thank you to Peter Fairley-Jones for his service to the Audit and Risk Committee. Yeah, what?
Just got a comment, if I may, Madam Mayor.
Yeah. Hello.
Just for clarity, Ms Perkins has just pointed out that we probably should just, for point 2, it should say recruitment process be undertaken to select an independent member of the Audit Committee, full stop, given that it'll take a little bit of time, and we certainly can't say commencing 1 January.
No.
That will then give council discretion to decide the term
out.
once that process comes to council for a decision.
Okay,
Thank you, Madam
Mayor. You. Are you happy to move that motion? Do we have a seconder? Councillor Davies?
Yeah, look, so speaking to point 1, I'm happy for the Deputy Mayor to be on there. I know he talks about this committee all the time. He seems to love hearing all the advice from the independent members. Point 2, I think Peter Fairley-Jones has done great work. I've been on the Audit Committee as well. But just noting that in our agenda it does mention, although new terms introduced in 2022 require market expressions of interest after 2 terms, these are not applied retroactively, making him eligible for reappointment. So basically, best practice industry is for us to go out to market, but on the technicality that while he's been here 10 years, the rules hadn't come in yet, he was eligible again. But I think it's also reasonable to go out, considering I think he started in, 2014, so he's been here 10 years.
He has. Any other discussion? David Hughes, are you happy to put the motion?
I think we can still maybe add, we encourage him to reapply just to be polite at the end of point 3. No, there's no animosity about this at all, and it has been good service. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, staff.
Fantastic. So, are you happy for me to put the motion? Thank you. Thanks, Peter Fairley-Jones, for his service to the Audit and Risk Committee, and encourages him to reapply. Okay. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour of the motion, carried unanimously. Thank you. Oh, you didn't vote. Oh, so you voted against it? You voted against it. Thank you. Carried. Okay. Page 74 of 103, council member and staff appointments to external bodies. Now I'm going to do these one at a time. That council, subject to the outcome of the 226 local government general election, appoints as the Town of Gawler representative of the Gawler Health Advisory Council. Do you want to go on that again, David? Do you want to go on that again? Yeah. Councillor Hughes. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? No. Councillor Hughes as the Town of Gawler representative. So I'll move the motion. Yeah.
It says we're appointing him for a 3-year term expiring after the end of the council term. Is that normal?
227. Yeah, thank you. For a 3-year term, that's exactly right. Yes. Councillor Hughes, I'll ask for a mover. Councillor Vallelonga and Councillor Hennessy. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Officer's recommendation that council appoints councillor as the Town of Gawler representative to the Gawler Business Development Group for a 12-month term expiring 25th November 2025. You want to be on there again, Councillor Solomon. Business Gawler, yeah, Gawler, business Gawler, business Gawler, business Gawler to the business Gawler. What?
Through the chair, the formal board is still the Gawler Business Development Group. They're just trading as Business Gawler.
Oh,
so
right.
the appointment to the board is to the board of the Gawler Business Development Group.
Okay, Gawler Business Development Group. Okay, Councillor Solomon, do you want to? Are you happy to go on that?
Unless someone else is dying to go on there, then
Yes, thank you.
sorry, I should maybe
I need
perhaps
a mover.
clarify
I
that.
need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Hughes and Councillor Deputy Mayor Shanks. Thank you. Councillor, that needs to be changed. Oh, right, okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, so I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. That council appoints as the Town of Gawler representative on the Gawler Community Neighbourhood House Inc. board for a 12-month term expiring 25th November 2025. Do you want to go on that? So, Councillor Davies. Any other nominations? No. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Hughes and Deputy Mayor Shanks. That council, so I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Thank you. That council recommends to the Gawler and District College B12 Governing Council that councillor be appointed as a community member on the Gawler and District College B12 Governing Council for a 12-month period expiring 25th November 2025. Do you want to go on there? Thank you. Councillor Hennessy. Any other nominations? No? None? Okay. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Lorna and Councillor Samble. Thank you. Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Officer's recommendation that council notes that the Chief Executive Officer has applied for membership to the Regional Development Australia Barossa Gawler Light Adelaide Plains Committee. Thank you. So what do we do there? So we have a mover and a seconder. So Councillor Samble moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lorna, thank you. I'll just wait for that to come up. Is it thinking? Is it thinking? Right, thinking. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Can we move? That's it. That's it. Council member appointments to working groups. Okay. Okay. Right. Council member appointments to working groups, page 79 of 103. Okay. Elderly Centre, that council appoints the council members as listed to the 4 established working groups in accordance with membership requirements outlined in each group's terms of reference. Elderly Centre Advisory Working Group. Councillor Samble. Do we have a deputy? Thank you. Do you want to be on that? Oh, right, okay. So Councillor Samble and Councillor Solomon as deputy. Ageing Well Advisory Group, I'd like to be on that. Councillor Hennessy, do you want to be on that, Councillor Samble? No? Ageing Well Advisory Group.
Didn't you say you want to be on there?
Yeah. Councillor Davies, do you want to be on that? No. Okay. Councillor Mayor Redman, Councillor Hennessy and Councillor Samble. Thank you. Football and Associated Sporting Clubs Future Infrastructure Needs Working Group. Oh God, that's a mouthful. It's a huge mouthful. Do you want to be on that, Councillor Shanks? Thank you. Deputy Mayor Shanks, Deputy Mayor. And do you want to be on there? Yeah, thank you. Do you want to be on there? Oh, Ethan wants to be on there. Councillor White, Councillor Davies, Councillor Lorna and Councillor Shanks. Oh, you want to be on there as well? Thank you. Councillor. All white men. Okay. Councillor Shanks. Councillor Solomon is Councillor Solomon and Councillor Shanks. Deputy Mayor Shanks. Deputy Mayor Shanks. What? Thank you. Yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No,
Yeah.
I can't speak until you give me permission. If I may, Madam Mayor, due to the change with our formal committee structures, with the Corporate Services and the Infrastructure Committee, we just need to add a component to the recommendation that's before Council, just removing the references from the terms of reference to those committees. Okay. So my team have got some wording, which I'm happy to put on the screen.
What wording? What wording? Oh, right. So the working group will comprise of the following members: Deputy Mayor, up to 4 council members as appointed by council, 2 representatives each from Gawler Central Sporting Club, South Gawler Football Club, Williston Football Club, Office of State Electoral District of Light representative, any additional representatives as determined by the working group. Okay?
And what that does, Madam Mayor, just
Yeah.
addresses that change in our structure.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Thank you, Madam
Thank
Mayor. So
you.
with your indulgence,
Thank
that's
you.
council's consideration.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Do we have a mover? Oh, we do the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group. Who wants to be on that? Councillor Hennessy, and I'd like to be on that. Yeah, Councillor Hennessy. Councillor Hennessy. Ethan wanted to be on there. Okay, Councillor Ethan, Councillor White. Thank you. Okay. Can we move it up? Can we move it up? No, we need to move it up. Officer's recommendation, I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Valalonga, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Solomon, thank you. It's thinking. Okay. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour of the motion, carried unanimously. Ethan White. Okay, so I'm on page 83 of 103, 1016, 1015, yeah, I've done that. 1016, pursuant to clause 12.1 of the Northern Adelaide Waste Management Authority Norma Charter, appoints the following persons to the Board of Management for a 2-year term expiring at the 2026 local government election. Chief Executive Officer. Who wants to be on that? You want to be on that? Councillor Lorna. Who wants to be on that? Councillor Solomon. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Solomon and Chief Executive Officer. What's this? Oh, we've got to get a deputy. We've got to get a deputy. Councillor, who wants to be deputy? Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Deputy Mayor. Shanks and Executive Manager, Development and Compliance. Okay. I need a mover and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Valalonga. Councillor Hughes. Councillor Valalonga has moved and Councillor Hughes has seconded. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Oh, information reports. Okay. Right. So we've got the monthly finance report, October 2024, 11.1. I'm on page 86 of 103. Who wants to move the motion? Oh, thank you, Councillor Samble, and seconded by Councillor Hughes. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. We've done the Business Scholar quarterly report. Okay. Recommendations from committees. So I'm going to do these en bloc. Recommendations from Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 5th of November 2024. So we've got, I'm going to move them en bloc. Councillor, you want to move the motion, and do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Shanks, thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. The council will adopt the following information items en bloc. Recommendations from Gawler Youth Advisory Committee. I'm going to move this en bloc. Youth Sponsorship Program Round 2, appointment of members. Okay, so there's only 2. You want to move that motion? Thank you. Do you want to move it? Do you want to speak?
Yes, and speak very briefly.
Thank you.
Just to say that I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that with the appointment of those 2 members, that means that there is a full appointment of members to the Youth Advisory Committee, which is excellent to show that interest. So that's excellent.
Fair enough. Okay, so moved by Councillor Solomon. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Davies. I'm going to move that en bloc. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Recommendations from Corporate and Community Services Committee meeting held on the 12th of November 2024. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. So 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to move these en bloc. What? What? Oh, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Davies. Yeah, Councillor Davies. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to move that en bloc. You want to move that motion? Thank you, David. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hennessy. I'm going to move them en bloc. Deputy Mayor, did we change that? Did we change that? I can't see it. I can't see it. I can't see it. Councillor Davies, thank you. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. All those against? It is carried. External bodies reports. That council notes the minutes of meetings of internal and external bodies. So we need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Hughes, thank you. Councillor Hennessy seconded. You want to speak to it? Yes.
Yeah, just very briefly, Mayor. I find this really informative, and I would encourage all of us who have put our hands up to be on external bodies to recognise that this is an essential communication back from all of these groups. We obviously all can't attend everything, but having these come in on a regular basis so that we can read through them helps to form questions that we can follow up afterwards. So I look forward to more of these. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes and Councillor Hennessy, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Questions on notice, Neil. Questions without notice, and I'm going to questions without notice. You have 3 questions. You have 3 questions. 3 questions. Yeah. Maximum. Yeah. Questions without notice? Any questions without notice? Motions on notice, nil. Motions without notice. Council member attendances. The CEO and I attended. John Bolton's just sent me a text. Mayor Redman and the CEO went to Business Scholar Awards on Friday night, and that was a really good. I got up and did the Nutbush city limits. I don't know why I did that, but yeah. I did that. Yeah. So Any other question, any other attendances? Any other attendances? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, council member attendances and activities. Confidential reports, 19.1. Recommendation from Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on 5th of November 2024. We have an officer's recommendation that we go into confidence. Who wants to move that? Councillor Vallelonga. Do you want to speak to it? Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Shanks.
Yes, moving into confidence, just under section 83.5 and 84.6 of the Local Government Act, on the grounds that it relates to tenders of the supply of goods, the provision of service of carrying out works.
Yeah. Okay. So,